our neighbor to the north from Baltimore, Celia Neustad, the founder of the Inner Harbor Project. And
I'm kind of wishing I was in DC. Right now. That's right. Thanks for the reminder. So I'm here tonight to talk about how youth solved one of the most intractable, complex issues in Baltimore City. And I'm going to tell you how and exactly what they did. But first, I want to take you back to the summer of 2012. It was a pretty humid summer, like most in Baltimore are, as I'm sure you're well aware. And teens were looking for a place to hang out. So in order to really understand what happened exactly that summer, I need you to walk a mile in a Baltimore teen's shoes. So just imagine that 1 in 3 out of the local rec centers in your neighborhood have closed within the last 10 years. So you don't really have a good place to hang out in your neighborhood. Only 1 in 4 of your friends has a job between the ages of 16 and 19. So you have to find a pretty cheap place to hang out that doesn't make you spend a lot of money. And there was a major shift in the Baltimore City public school system where it used to be that you went to zone schools, but now everyone gets to choose where they go to high school. So you go to school with kids from all over the city, which means your friends are from all over the city, which means you want to find a place to hang out that's convenient for everyone. So all of that factors into kids deciding to hang out at the Inner Harbor, Baltimore's central public space. But when you finally get there, taking 1 or 2 buses or a bus and a subway, you end up really not having that much of a positive experience. So first you decide you're going to go to the food court in one of the urban malls to just grab a quick bite to eat. But when you try to enter, a security guard stops you at the door and says you're not allowed to enter until 5 p.m. because you're under the age of 18. So you're like, all right, I'll just wait outside until 5 p.m. But while you're waiting, a Baltimore City cop approaches you and tells you that you can't wait outside because it's a private business and that's considered loitering. So, you're kind of frustrated at this point, and honestly, you wish you could tell the cop, you don't, but you wish you could tell him that all of this feels pretty unfair. You really don't have that many places to hang out in Baltimore City, and when you came to the place that you wanted to hang out, you weren't allowed in, and now you're not even allowed to wait outside. Honestly, a lot of it really makes you feel pretty unwelcome and excluded, like this whole glittery, beautiful space was developed, just not for you. But what choice do you have? So you and your friend go down the street and keep walking, looking for something else to do. But you're not alone. That officer is following you on his bike and following to see what you're going to do next. It's like they expect you to do something bad. It's like they expect you to fulfill this negative stereotype of an urban teen that's followed you your whole life. And really, it's all too much. It makes you feel like the whole situation is set up for you to fail. Like, even if you were this exemplary model of teenage existence, what would it get you? That summer, it got 163 teens arrested in the Inner Harbor and downtown. 80% of those teens were arrested for nonviolent crimes like loitering, jaywalking, disorderly conduct, silly stuff. It also got a lot of stakeholders concerned in Baltimore City because the Inner Harbor is our tourism and financial sector as well. And juvenile arrests were skyrocketing, and the tension between teens and cops and businesses and tourists was really palpable. And no adults really understood why. The only people that really knew what happening was teenagers. So to me, the solution was relatively simple. Organize young people who are at the center of this issue, so the cool kids, the outgoing ones, to and give them research tools to legitimize their experiences. Teach them the international language of the information age, data, so that they could speak and other people would understand what they were saying. So we started off, very simple question. What is the youth experience in the Inner Harbor? And that question led to another question, which was, why is there tension between youth and other groups at the Inner Harbor? And we came up with a series of complex reasons, but they all really boil down to one simple thing. And the answer to why there was tension between youth and these other groups was that youth felt excluded. So the young people I work with did this research, and they presented it to a group of stakeholders, including police, a tourism board, local residents, city officials, and then they presented solutions. Mediate conflicts over social media between teens so these conflicts don't play out in the Inner Harbor. Have teens train cops on positive ways of engaging with young people so that they don't trigger that feeling of exclusion when they interact with teens. Create positive outlets in the Inner Harbor that teens could afford with a discount program. Develop a code of respect and post it on big blue hearts in the Inner Harbor to instill a deeper sense of empathy and respect in the hearts of all who use that space. And finally, have teens in the Inner Harbor during high volume times in bright t-shirts, handing out bracelets and buttons to let people know what we were doing. And one very essential piece, make sure all of the teens doing this are paid and paid well and receive all of the college and career readiness, emotional support that they need to do this work, since they're providing such a valuable service to the city. So this is what we did. Last summer, during one of the highest crime summers in Baltimore in decades, actually, teens came down to the Inner Harbor looking for a place to hang out, and 0 were arrested. When you visit the Inner Harbor today, things are honestly pretty idyllic, and it's all because young people organized in a public space. They conducted research to understand why there was tension. They presented recommendations, and then they implemented them. What we've done is easily replicable. There are spaces in DC, like Gallery Place, in Chicago, like Millennium Park, and all across the country that could do exactly what we've done. Instead of putting money into the bottomless pit of increased security, curfews, and store bans that only work temporarily to quell youth violence but end up exacerbating that feeling of young people feeling excluded, our model provides an alternative that actually works to mitigate the underlying tensions between two people that just misunderstand one another because they're coming from different places socially, culturally, and physically. What we aim to do is to build a harmonious society through our public spaces. The number one thing that stands between where we are now and where we want to be doing this work in other cities is people knowing about it. So my ask to you is to just tell the story of what you've heard here tonight. We have 2 youth leaders from the Inner Harbor Project. Can you guys raise your hand? They're really can tell the story way better than I can. So tell the story of how youth in Baltimore simultaneously solved youth exclusion and youth violence in the heart of our city. And one last thought to leave you with, it's something that one of the founding youth leaders said to me and says to anyone who she talks to that I'm borrowing because I think is really profound. She says, in order to fix what you would call your so-called youth problem, you have to include youth and let them lead the solution.